I learned to weld a few years ago. I've not done a great deal of welding, but I feel like I'm not too bad at it. I've welded various different things over time, from farm machinery to making stuff to even farming vehicles. But the one thing that I have never welded is a car.
This is my girlfriend's 1990 Mazda MX5, and we bought this in May last year, and we was aware that it had rust, so we took it to the MX5 restorer to get a quote and have all the work sorted out and make it completely rust free.
But this is what happened after.
So just got the quote back from the MX5 restorer, so let's have a look. The total has come to £5,648.20.
That's a lot of money, and we're still gonna have them do it. So why am I about to weld this car?
The answer is an MOT, because unfortunately I don't think it's going to pass an MOT in the current state that it's in, especially with all this rust. So this is basically just to get it through the MOT.
So, let's do it.
Despite this being the first time that I've ever welded a car, I am aware that there are a couple things that you should do before welding, i.e. take the ECU out and disconnect the battery. Once the battery was out, I could then move on to taking out the ECU. Starting off with these 4 screws along the side panel, which allowed me access to actually pull up the carpet to pull it backwards and basically take out the ECU. Whilst I was under there, I discovered a lot of stuff was pretty wet.
So I have to remove this kick plate under here, which is this thing, to get to the ECU. There's a few bolts up the top there, and there's some on the bottom. However, something I did find which was quite worrying is, as you can see, this is quite rusty and it is fairly wet down there. And all of this is all wet, especially under here. So I think that's another thing that we're going to have to look at to get replaced, or to replace. So here we go. The kick plate is now out, and it's a bit concerning really that there's water getting this close to the ECU. Not really sure how it's getting in, to be honest. But either way, let's get that ECU out and then we can begin.
It was a fiddly job, but eventually I got the ECU out. Unfortunately, my idiotic self didn't really think this through, and I had to roll it up onto blocks because I couldn't drive it up because I'd already disconnected the battery and the ECU.
Nearly there.
After a bit of struggle, I managed to get the jack under where I wanted it to be and jack it up, not forgetting to chock off the front wheels so that it doesn't roll.
So, the problem in question is this along here. As you can see, there is a big old hole. So I think what I'm going to do is basically cut from here all the way along, flatten it down and put some new stuff in. It's obviously not going to be OEM stuff and OEM body panel and all that sort of stuff, but it will clean it up and it will look a lot better. And then I can also fill this hole in as well, so like maybe cut it along this weld here, maybe back to about here-ish, put some new material in, weld it up, make this bit come out again, and we're good to go. I reckon that's the best course of action. Also, check this out, right? The handbrake is on, as you can see. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's stiff, but Jesus. One last thing. Safe. Eyes are safe. Now, got the grinder. I need to change this disc. This is an old disc. So, new disc. And we're ready to go. Okay, so I've cut out all of this section, and the metal underneath actually doesn't look too bad. It looks quite solid, so I reckon it's just these bits that were rotten. I mean, as you can see. So I'm going to leave it like this for now, because that gives me more access to this bit. So I'm going to try and see if I can cut this bit out. Obviously I'm going to try and flatten this bit down a bit first, then cut this bit out a bit more, see if I can get some new material in there.
And this is where it all started to get a bit worse. I was only very lightly tapping this, and more just kept breaking off, until eventually this is basically what I was left with. A great big hole.
Right, so I have opened it right up, all the way to where it feels like it's still rusty, if you know what I mean. So I've got to lay a bit in here, weld that up, and then I can do the actual jacking point bit. But yeah, I mean that's quite fucking bad in there.
The upside to doing this though is it did allow me to have a look on the inside of the sill and see how it looked.
Ooh. Yeah. So I'm definitely still thinking, well, 100% it still needs to go to the MX5 restorer, have all this work done properly. But for now, obviously, I just need to close that up and basically make it able to pass an MOT, because we can't really get the money together this quickly to have all the work done by the MX5 restorer. So I need to get this looking pretty good so that it'll pass the MOT and give us that little bit extra time to get the money together to have this done properly, because it clearly needs it.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up. Secure the bag, yeah, I get the bus. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. You see the drippy, I'm fitted up. Hop in my car and the giddy up.
Now I've seen a little bit more of it. It's not absolutely awful inside. I mean, yeah, that there is not amazing, but I mean, for the most part, it's not actually terrible. Yeah, don't get me wrong, it ain't good, it ain't great, but definitely not absolutely rotten. So I'm quite pleased about that actually. But either way, we need to start laying new material in there so we can close that back up, because we cannot leave it like that for definite. So we need to lay new material in it so that we can, well, get it by. So I have a great big sheet of metal. I'm not really too sure on the thickness. All I know is it should be pretty good. I know that stuff is 1 mil, so that must be about 3, maybe 4 mil. So this good stuff, this will work. And what I'm going to do is, because I don't want to just cut a random piece off and guess and then weld that in, so I'm going to get a piece of cardboard, offer it up, kind of get like a little shape out of it, and then transfer to that.
Unfortunately for me, the whole cardboard idea and transferring it over didn't work. So I had to go and get one of these tools and basically just take all the different measurements and measure them all, each part of the hole, and transfer it onto the bit of metal, which was a little bit more time consuming, but I feel like it was probably better in the long run anyway. So we now have the shape we need to cut out of this stuff to fill that hole. Now this is a bit of an awkward shape, and it's this inside bit that I need to cut out. So I'm going to get a cutting disc on, get this cut out. Right, now we have our little cutout. We can now actually see if it even fits. I think it will. And then after that, we'll get it all cleaned up and ready to be welded in. So, we've got this all nice and tidy and looking a lot better than that. What I actually want to do now is spray it, or spray the top side with Rust-Oleum, so that way the bit that's inside that I can't spray once I've done it is protected, at least a little bit. Right, I have the piece all sprayed, so the inside should really now be protected, and now I can weld it in. Time to weld. So here's where I'm at. I've got it all welded up. It's not the prettiest thing in the world. I'm not some sort of professional welder or anything, so just bear with it, But here you go. So yeah, okay, it doesn't look majorly pretty. I am going to come back in afterwards and clean this up a bit, make it look a bit nicer, but it is welded and everything is, well, it's no longer a hole, even though in some places it does look like it. That's just where the light is. But it is now solid, just a good thing. So now what I've got to do really is just clean this whole thing up, and then I can put in the new rail thing, under rail, whatever it's called. So let's do it. Also, just a quick one, this is a really good time to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps me out, and it will help me achieve my dreams of becoming a YouTuber. So please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and let's get on with it. Right, so this is where I'm at. There was a couple of plate bits that I needed to redo, but I think that's pretty good. It's not bad. It's safe, it's structural, so I just need to get this rail piece on. Okay, so I've got these two bits here of metal, which I'm going to just tack together, and basically this has been cut to shape, and they should, in theory, be good. I've already test fitted them once, or a few times actually, and they're actually really good. Almost perfect size that way. So, yeah. Right, another little update. I now have this thing welded in. I've now just got to trim it off and tidy it up, and yeah, it's looking pretty good. So let's get this tidied up, looking pretty, and then that is this corner practically done. Just got to then spray it up, make it look nice and all that, and then that's this corner done. There we go.
looks a lot prettier, looks a lot better. So, I'd say that's job done. Thank God. Right, let's get it painted, and then that should be this side done. Right, so it's been a little while now, and I've managed to get this bit done. Everything underneath is looking good. It's completely, well, it's not completely, but I've welded it all up and redone the rail. Here we go. So there's no longer a great big hole, and it now has the jacking point bit done as well, and I have made sure they're not right. There's a couple of holes there for the drainage. Now you have to bear in mind, and you have to remember, because I know there's going to be some of you that are like, oh well, that's not proper, you ain't done that properly, blah 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 blah. Right, I know the welding isn't amazing. This is my first time I've ever welded on a car, so I don't think it's too bad personally, but you've got to remember that what I've done today is just temporary. Everything I'm doing to this car at the moment, welding wise, is just temporary until we can get it to the MX5 restorer, because it costs a lot of money. We need some time to get that money together, and so basically we just needed to make it so that it would pass an MOT and wouldn't continue getting worse in the meantime, which is why we've done this today. So just bear that in mind, right? Because I know it's not great welding, I know it's not a great job, it doesn't look amazing. It's just temporary, just to get us by until we can have the MX5 restorer completely do it properly and efficiently. For now, I need to get the ECU back in, get the battery back in, and get this back on the ground. So let's do it.
To be honest, I was quite nervous to start this project, especially doing all the welding, and first time welding on a car, it was very nerve-wracking. And even though I don't think the welds are particularly high standard or really good quality or anything like that, I did something that I wasn't comfortable with. I stepped out of my comfort zone. I'd done something I haven't ever done before. And although it's not perfect, I think it went okay. I don't think it is the worst job ever. And I mean, it's paid off. The rust hole is gone, and it is a lot safer now. So ultimately, I think it was a success. And it just goes to show that if you put your mind to something and try your best, even if you're not fully qualified for something, then you can do stuff, and you can do what you want to do. And I think that's a very, very important lesson.
So, if you ask me, that was a success. And this was never about, like, oh, just trying to cheap out and do it the cheap way. It was never about anything like that. It's just, we're trying to basically give ourselves a bit more time. We are taking it to the MX5 restorer, so they're going to be the ones to do it all properly and make sure everything is rust free properly, and they'll be obviously have all the equipment and the right amount of time and skills to actually weld it all up properly, opposed to what I can do here. So overall, I don't think it was a bad job. I'm pretty sure it's, again, it's not amazingly pretty, but it is now hole free. So there's no longer a hole, it looks a bit better. So as far as I'm concerned, that's not too bad. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and I will see all of you guys next Sunday in the next video. Peace.